So there are some of these best practices will carry forward to non-COVID times, but for the next however long, these are things that anybody can use. And so the adaptability and resiliency I really liked about this one. I also like that it's an action shot, and it's just a really it's a positive message that we can get out there, that scouts are leading by example, they're still making it happen. And so that this was a really good reason about why we're still scouting. Media on the advocacy side of things. Some people think, oh, I'm just going to put up a social media page. My kids or my spouse or whoever, I see them on social media all of the time. And it really takes someone who has personal interest. And even people who have personal interest sometimes need a break or may not be available. So I recommend that you have 2 people within each unit that are able to be either the primary and the backup poster, or if you want to have somebody who's really interested in looking for news clips, have somebody who's in charge of, okay, if there's a news article about scouting, then that's going to be what that person posts, versus the person who's in charge of getting event photos. As somebody who does this kind of work, it's always a bummer at the end of an event to go, oh, I thought you were taking pictures, and someone else thought, oh, I didn't bring my phone charger, and you miss out on those opportunities to help share those stories. So having a couple people who can be in sync, and it also helps funnel other people who might have event photos, say, okay, we know that we're going to send that to Jim because Jim's the primary poster. It just helps eliminate some of the confusion. So 2 people is a good team for that. And like I mentioned, it actually helps a lot if there's somebody who's interested, if they're active personally on social media, they're already going to be on Facebook or Instagram and be able to see if someone comments on a post, and then if somebody sends a direct message to your unit page. Those are things that shouldn't sit there for, ideally it would be followed up with right away, but if it sits there for a week, then people have moved on and they've probably forgotten all about why they were even messaging or commenting with question in the first place. And then as we go through this, we'll also talk about engagement and just how how social media pages and algorithms work, so that engagement is really helpful. And then also the ability to post. Everybody has a little different technology. So if somebody already has the apps, if somebody has certain filters that are really cool, there's a couple of videos and some graphic design things that I'll show you as we go. If there's somebody who has those things within your unit, then those are really great assignments to know what those skills are that are available. And then also the time. There are people who have jobs that are more flexible than others. And that's another reason it's nice to have 2 people, is maybe there's somebody who isn't as flexible to be able to pick up messages, or maybe there's somebody who is more flexible. So if you can find a pair of people to help with your social media, then that's really going to help this whole program go smoother. So here's an example of, let's see, so Troop 82, and I didn't know where they are from, but what I love about this is this image makes me want to go there. This makes me want to go to camp and makes me really excited. And it's visually, all the photos are there. It's somebody who
it is mine. This makes me want to go to camp.
What was that?
My wife posted it. She's pretty excited right now.
Yay! Awesome. Well, this was so fun. I want to go camping with you. I mean, you can just feel the excitement in the post and the photos and everything. I mean, mentioning the activities that you guys did, the energy really comes through in this post. And then there's also a call to action at the end, which was, hey, you can also rent this camp. And I mean, this is just a really great post. So good job. This was really awesome. So then the what to post would be this visually compelling content. So kind of continue on with that. So you can do photos, you can do videos, a short description like we just saw with that call to action is great. There's also news stories, whether that's about the unit or maybe a neighboring unit. You can give a shout out to someone in your region or somebody else in the council. There's also really I've seen some inspiring national stories that could be shared too, as long as the context comes back to, your local unit. We're going to cover some of the Bsa Brand Center materials that are out there. The one thing that I would say is those should be used with specific intention, because the post that we just saw, I'll show that again, this is obviously very local, whereas if you have Brand Center materials, they're great for the purpose that you may have, but they, depending on the situation, may not do as well for somebody who's looking for something local. And then testimonials are also really personal, where volunteers, like I wrote a testimonial about why we joined scouting with my lion, eagles who want to share their story about how being an Eagle Scout has improved their career opportunities or their military service or their enriched their life in general. Those are all really powerful stories that can be shared. And we do have testimonials out there, and I'll show, I think I can click to one of these websites. So this page has marketing tools, and if the testimonials aren't out here, then I think Casey can probably get that out pretty quick. But this page has lots of marketing tools that we'll talk about. It links to BSA materials, but it also has some of these templates down here. And when we get to earned media, then we'll be talking about this here, as well as social media guide. Because sometimes those testimonials are really difficult to articulate. And let's see if I can get back to my, here we go. You feel it, but it's sometimes difficult to articulate. So if somebody has something that they want to say, then feel free to reach out to me. That's part of what I do, is help have a short conversation with somebody and boil down this big feeling into just a couple sentences. So happy to help with that if anybody has questions. So one question that came up in the pre-registration was, what are the most effective ways to recruit and to stay recruiting after the fall push? And anyone who's ever worked in sales or any type of position like this, I think the answer is you don't stop. So you might have these pushes, but you keep promoting, you keep inviting people. You're not going to make the sale if you don't ask the question. So I think of scouting in that way too, in terms of recruitment. And it is, for me, it's something that during the fall we did recruit some friends, and it's about timing too. So in COVID, from what I'm hearing with all of the scouts, is it really has thrown the whole world upside down. And so there's no reason that somebody can't join now, is my understanding anyway. I also will say I'm still pretty new, but I don't think that we would ever turn anyone away just because it's January and not the fall. So one of the things that we do have for recruitment is this page that's also on the Crater Lake Council page. And this has recruitment tools, has a lot of good information. So set yourself a reminder to go look at this after the training. And so these are for recruitment events, has promoting materials, signing up new scouts, has all of that information. So here's a couple images that have to do with it's not too late for recruiting. I found these on the Bsa Brand Center. So the website is at the bottom, but if you can't remember that, which I never can, so I just end up Googling Bsa Brand Center, and it has a wealth of information. I mean, they are putting up new stuff. So in the time that I started drafting this presentation and when I came back to this page a couple days ago, they already have new stuff. So they're putting new stuff out here all the time that's seasonal. So you can see there's things specifically for winter. The Be the Change, that's a recent campaign that came out because that's happening in February. So there are things in here for any event that I think you could think of. There's Pinewood Derby, there's all sorts of stuff. You could really spend a lot of time digging into these. So all of these you would just click on and open up, and it will show you lots of information, gives you images, gives you flyers, gives you postcards, handout cards, all of that. So if you've never gone in and poked around, that's really great. And it is public for anybody to be able to access. So that's a great resource. But those are definitely, I would say, use in the mix with your authentic material, because these are things that obviously are professionally produced. I think it helps make the page look professional. You can add in some of your own. There's some that you can add in your specific meeting times or contact information, but it's, I think, a good idea to have the authentic local material as well, so that people know who they're meeting, who they're going to be getting involved with, and our reason why. So Pack 90 in Bend, what I loved and noticed on the date, so this is from January 25th, so almost 1 year ago, an in-person and indoor Pinewood Derby. And this is something that I was thinking could be a neat reshare opportunity too. So it could be a throwback for, remember just a year ago when we got to do this in person? And these photos are just great. I mean, the colors and the visuals, the kids, I mean, just, if you've ever been involved with Pinewood Derby, you probably takes you back to those memories. If you've never been to Pinewood Derby, you certainly get the idea of what's going on here. So those are really, this is a good post too. And it works in the aspects of sportsmanship, dedication, resilience, friendship, and scout law. So good job, Pack 90. This was a good post. So the when to post, this is also something that I get asked about, well, what's the right frequency? How often should I do it? And I always feel like it's quality over quantity, but you have to have consistency. So if you were to get back from an event and do 10 posts in 1 week, and then you didn't post for an entire month, that would not be very effective. You would get a lot of engagement and reach during that week, and then your page would go stale over the next 3 weeks, and people would be looking for more information. So if you can settle into a plan that has attainable goals, I think a really reasonable and good attainable goal is 1 to 2 posts a week. There's always something within the council or national or the brand center that you can come up with for one of your posts. And then if you have 1 local post as well. So that's, I think, a really good goal just in general, but you have to certainly make a plan and decide what best for your unit. And then a good idea is to review that content calendar at the committee meetings. My PAC just had our committee meeting, our PAC just had this a couple of days ago, and we talked about the content calendar for the photo opportunities coming up over the next month, some of the dates that are on the calendar, what we can do. And it just acts as, if it's a standing agenda item, it acts as a good reminder for everybody to collect photos and videos, or if you're really stalling and you think about, well, what else can we do, or help brainstorm. So Heather, is this are you the one doing the videos with Wild Rivers? Because I watched a lot of Heather's videos, and they're really, really good. So if anybody wants to go check out what Heather's been up to, Wild Rivers page. This one I really liked and watched the entire thing with my son, who was captivated. Oh my gosh, he thought this was so cool, and just he thinks it's like magic. So my lion is really excited to watch Scout Dylan, and I'm sure he's going to ask me to pull up this video again. So this is something that I really liked what they were doing. They're going through all the different requirements for, I mean, Heather, I don't know how many you've done, but I scrolled through a lot. And I thought that was a really neat way to kind of go through the knot tying and outdoor events and try and find a medium to engage with people that's, that even in COVID times, this was a really cool one to watch. So the where would be post on your units page, and there was a question about the difference between pages and groups. So a unit page is the public profile where people have followers, and then the unit, district, or community pages that I'll talk about here in just a second, those are all more of like a chat room or a discussion forum. Those can be public or private, but those are people are a member of this conversation. So post on your units page, and then really encourage everybody and make it a point of yourself to like the page, to like the post, to share it on your personal page and into these other groups. And I see a lot of success with some of the nonprofits that I work with in this way. It's something that I'll show in just a minute, of something I did a couple of days ago that got some really good traction. So this is, and then one of the things that really helps with all the algorithms of Facebook and Instagram is the more that people are engaging with your posts, the further that those posts are going, the better that they're going to perform. And it's also, people will engage with it if they're seeing it, and if they don't like the page, then they're only going to be seeing it if you share it. So if everybody goes in and invites 20 people that they know, every single page that I looked at would grow it exponentially if all of the volunteers went and invited their friends to like it. So this was a little thing I did a couple days ago. So we had, so the way to, if you're not used to social media very much, my post with the picture down there where we have, so my son's on the left, my lion, and we have our den leader, Travis. I don't think Travis is on the call, but I really do think we were joking that his hat was part of the success of this post. And then Avery, our other lion, is on the right. So this image, along with my post, which is on my personal page, then I shared this post into a couple Redmond community pages. The comments on the right are from the post within the Redmond Community Connection, but also similar questions over on a page called Fabulous Moms of Redmond. And I had 25 people message me about Cub Scouts based on this one post. And there's a lot of interest out there. And I think some of the things that's interesting is maybe because schools are closed and we weren't able to do the recruitment nights or the flyers or any of that stuff. Maybe there's some pent up demand, but this is also, I think, a good thing to do just in general. Maybe set a reminder to do this type of post once a quarter or something. So there were some questions that are really basic questions that people may not ask again, but all of these people, all of these 25 people, I think are leads that I would consider people that I would want to follow up with and invite them to our next event. Even if it's a drive-through recruitment or a tailgate or a parking lot or a Zoom or anything like that. These are all people that I would reach back out to and connect with. So the how then is the written content. We've kind of covered a couple of these things. So the written content would be you want a short description that has a purpose. So you don't, usually you wouldn't just put something out there that says we went on a hike. It would be we went on a hike to get out of the house and talk about leave no trace. And if you're interested in scouting and work in that call to action. If you have a long description, there was a couple that I saw that were really doing a full update of what scouts have been doing for the entirety of COVID. You would want to have a hook at the beginning and then go into that long list, which can work as well. And then the links, the way that Facebook works and then Instagram as well, they're very visual driven. So you would want a photo or a video or a logo or branded material and then have the link embedded there. That also helps if people are resharing the information. So again, I'll bring up this marketing tools page and just say this is a good reminder that these are out there for you as things that you can refer to and get some ideas. And so pack 103, this was fun. I liked this. I felt like it was very relatable. It also had kind of that call to action that we're talking about or actionable post with it. So they're talking about trees. They're talking about what they're doing and the field trips that they're taking. The depends on smoke. That took me right back to that time this summer when we were all socked in. So I thought that was a really good post. And then this is a plug for the recruiting. So you can do this in the fall. You can do this anytime. So if you wanted to do, this one was meeting up at Kit Carson Park, but you also could do a Zoom night or you could do a parking lot. I think that, some of those things we need to talk about, some of the requirements of what we can and can't do, but there's no reason that we can't continue to be recruiting all throughout the year. And then this specific post, I want to highlight for everybody. So this event, quote unquote event, it's within Facebook, was created by the council. And the council does have a budget for and is willing and able to run some events and do some paid advertising for you. So contact the council office if that's something you're interested in. Jim was saying at the beginning of the meeting that even $10 or $15 behind an ad can really target, especially some of these smaller communities. So people would be seeing scouts, they'd be seeing this material, and the council knows how to set these up and is happy to help support you in that. So just the reminder about the why. So people don't buy what you do, they buy why you do it. So that passion really helps the recruitment and raising awareness. So we're going to go through kind of the same format. This will be a little bit different because this is focused on media, earned media. But earned media, so when we see anything about scouting in TV, radio, the newspaper, it helps build that positive awareness. Those are literally storytelling materials that are out there, and those are great recruitment tools. Any media coverage is also good content that you can use on your social media pages. You can send it to others. It also helps those who are fundraising as well. So people are seeing positive stories about the things that scouts are already doing. We're leveraging what we're already doing for helping recruit, helping with awareness, and all of those other things. And again, it's the frequency and consistency. So I feel like most everybody on this call probably saw this story about the Schwartz family, which I just am so proud of them and familiar with their family. And this is something that if you look down here, you can see this is on the TV channels page. Almost 1,500 people liked it just on this post. And that's not even considering all the people on these 91 shares. So that's a really, really high performing post. A lot of people saw this story, and that's just the TV. That's not any of the other coverage that that Miss Martha got very well deserved. So who is similar to identifying who's going to do your social media posting? It could be the same person or it could be somebody different, but there should be someone who knows that they're the person to send out the press releases. This can be one person within your unit. But they should be willing and able to send a press release. They should be willing to respond to media inquiries. Jamie Goldman, I don't know if she's on this call or not, but I was talking with her. She's in Bend, and we were talking right before the Christmas tree recycling, and she ended up getting a lot of media inquiries after the push that we did. And then she got more questions and more questions because as they were going, there were things that were coming up. So if the media knows who it is that they need to be contacting, then they also help build that relationship, and that just helps everything go more smoothly. This person will also help coordinate the interviews.
Hey, Jen, we have a quick question. I think it's relevant for right now. The question we have is for the older folks like me, I don't want to say who this was, what is earned media?
Yeah, so earned media is when we put a message out there, and it is, we're trying to get placement in TV, news, radio, we're trying to earn some coverage. Hopefully that helped answer the question.
So as an old person, I'd probably call it like print media or traditional media instead of social media.
Yeah, so social is like Facebook and Instagram, and earned media is the more traditional media. Yeah, print, TV, radio. And then in my conversations with media, they really like, especially if it's something about scouts, they love to be able to interview a scout themselves. So not that they don't like and appreciate volunteers and parents, but they really like to have the scouts in uniform, and somebody who's articulate and willing to deliver that interview. And so identifying these people ahead of time helps everyone be prepared. You don't want to be on site and the media is there saying, hey, can I ask you some questions? And then you're nervous and you don't know what to say. So if there's somebody who's willing and able to give interviews, they can practice, they can prep. If they're comfortable with their photos and videos being publicly shared, some people aren't. So to know that from the beginning is just to identify, even if it doesn't work out for the timing, just to try and be prepared to know who that is a good thing. So here's an example, and I think, Jim, we are going to do an effort to get Eagle coverage out, I think, pretty regularly. But these are stories that I see all of the time in our local media sources. It's something that if you send them something about an Eagle Scout project, they're going to cover it. And it helps if you give them really quality information to work with too. So I could have put this at the beginning, Jim. So the what is the TV, newspaper, and radio stories. It also could be earning a live interview or getting a community calendar listing. So the media doesn't necessarily know what we're doing. We know what we're doing, and so we need to initiate that contact. And if we make it really easy for them, then we're more likely for them to come cover our stories. So here's an example that they'll do. I mean, they'll cover They're covering this for White City, asking for signed Valentine's cards. But just what a great photo this is. Well, this, I mean, he's focused. I mean, this just really warmed my heart. So this was a really sweet one. Good job. So the when is, well, so I have a question then. Did you send that out, or how did KOBI find out about that?
They saw my Facebook post and reached out to me, and then they asked me to send a picture.
Mm-hmm.
Then the Mail Tribune also reached out, and they should be having an article, and it will have a picture of 2 of the Cubs working on Valentine's. And the Mail Tribune sent a photographer to meet us at the park.
Oh,
and
awesome.
they both interviewed the boys. So it was
wow. Well, great job. That's great. So that's a great example of when should you let the media know? You can send, and we'll also talk about the templates and different ways that you can interact with the media. And if you have a relationship, I have a news reporter that I'll text her and say, hey, are you interested in this? And she'll give me a thumbs up or a thumbs down, depending on the day and the news. And she'll literally say, do you have anything that's not COVID? Please give me anything that's not about COVID. I want a positive story. And so scout, like any of the events that we're doing, if it's the Scouting for Food, the Christmas tree recycling, Eagle projects, those are 3 that I know of in the last 3 months that our local media has shared, but also achievements or resiliency stories, especially right now during COVID, for some of the packs and troops that are doing interesting things. And even if it's maybe an event or an activity that looks different, but you're still figuring it out, you're still making it work, like the Valentine's Day cards. I mean, that's a really great story of, we're not giving up, we're not canceling scouting, we're finding out how we can make it happen. That's a really great story. So here's an example too. One thing I wanted to point out about this is this photo is from 2017. And so if your unit if you have really great photos, like this one is so fun. He's going to launch that Christmas tree into the trailer. So if you have a collection of photos, media will use it for going back. I think this was probably in the Bend bulletins in their library, but that was one thing that when we were pitching the story about Christmas tree recycling, we did have a couple news outlets that said, hey, can you send us a photo? And I'm like, oh, well, we haven't collected anything yet. It's before Christmas, but they wanted something visual to run with their story. So if you can, as you are collecting those really great photos, create a library, Flickr account or Google Drive or whatever it is, just as you come across those, flag them for the future. And where is one of these, sometimes it's hard to know and it takes a little bit of time to put together the list, but we've got you started. So we have a list of local community contacts. It's local news throughout the council. So you can find, I tagged them by city, but then you'll want to go through and add your own, because you're going to know your community better, of maybe the weekly newspaper or your local chamber or some obscure bulletin board that there's just a person who puts up community events on their own random website. If you're probably going to know that more about your community. So you can download the media list to get you started and then add to it and set yourself a reminder for every 6 months or once a year, because the media do have quite a bit of turnover. So even now, after I put together that list, there might be some that are out of date already, but hopefully there's enough that will at least get you into the right place. So is Eric on the call? Because I found this one and really liked this. So Eric in this photo is who's going to be doing your training on February 2nd. But this is a great example. And I remember when Eric shared this with.
I am.
Yes, hi. Do you recognize this photo?
Yep. Oh yeah.
So this is a really great example where the Applegator News Magazine is not on my media list, but it looks like such a full spread about scouting, and that's awesome. I mean, it's in your community, it's photos of people in your community, and so for the timing, it looks like was right before one of your recruiting events. That's awesome. So letting them know and having those connections with those local people that might run a story about what scouts are doing in your area is a really, really good opportunity. So Eric, was that something that you let them know
Yeah,
about that they found?
Yeah, I just contacted them over the summer and asked if I could write something, and they said, sure. It's definitely a small local rag, but one of the things they do is they always feature local readers that take their newspaper in on vacation and take a picture of it on the back page. So I was kind of doing a little homage to that with giving them a plug for their own paper and then tagging them. And since then, they've started following our pack, and they'll reshare our content with their followers as well. So it's really beneficial.
That's awesome. Yeah, that's great. So something like that is a really great way Eric built this relationship, and then things are flow really easily. You can also go the formal route, especially to begin with, or if you're blasting it out to multiple outlets. So we do have a press release template available and a media advisory, and that's on this page. Let's see. So down here, these buttons. So you click on those and you can download the templates. I won't open it up, but you have, well, let's see. There we go. So the templates for you to literally just plug in your information. I tried to make it as easy as possible. I actually still use templates for a lot of the stuff I do. It also acts as a checklist to make sure I've got everything in there. And so for press releases, the difference that the way that I think about it, and if you do this work in your line of work, that you might call them something a little bit different. But what I do is when I send out a press release, I like to send it 2 weeks out from an event for community calendars. I feel like if it's too far out, then people aren't going to remember it. And if you do it too late, then they're not going to pick it up. So 2 weeks out, you send it. And then you also can do it 1 week out for stories that you might want to run within that week in that news cycle. And then media advisories, that terminology for the media people that I communicate with, it's a way to signal to them that this is something that's a sense of urgency, that this is an opportunity for photos or videos, like for live events. And so for the media advisories, you would send that out 2 days before the event, and then follow up as a reminder the morning of, especially for the weekend crews. The Monday through Friday crew might not be the same as the Saturday, Sunday. And so if you send it that morning, the reporter walks in, pulls the files and says, oh, I can go at 10 o'clock, I can go down and get some video of scouts collecting food donations. So this is a sample media advisory that I sent out for the food collection. So this template, also the example, are on those documents on the Crater Lake Council website. Okay, so I have some closing tips. So I went in and followed, and so some of you who manage the pages of the screenshots that you've seen, if you saw me liking these posts from a year ago, now you know why. So I am now liking all of these unit pages and are things that all help share. I went to college in Ashland, so I have friends that still live in Southern Oregon, and I worked there for a few years. And then living in Central Oregon. So I feel like I can help you all by sharing things that you're doing. And so I'll help by liking, sharing, and engaging with your posts. You can also follow the Crater Lake Council pages on Facebook and Instagram. This is content that you could share, might give you ideas. There's resources. So that's another good opportunity. And then you can refer to, you can contact the council for the advertising that I mentioned, or general assistance if you get stuck on something. And then you can also refer to these leader resources that we had talked about. And then something that I thought was really cool is going through all of this. I want to talk to Heather about these videos and the Ashland, I can't remember which, I have it on the next screen, but there's some really cool graphic design things that people are doing. And so I think one of the wonderful things about scouting that I've learned is these lifelong friendships are created within the units, but it also is an icebreaker and an automatic way to reach out to somebody else and ask for help. So if you want to contact other unit leaders, if you think somebody's doing something cool, just reach out and ask how they're doing that. And then one thing to emphasize, and this is a plug for Eric's training on February 2nd, is all of the best marketing in the world isn't going to matter if somebody gets excited and says, you know what, I am ready to join Scouts, and then they go and there isn't current contact information, or they submit a message and nobody follows up for a month, then they either move on to joining something else, or they get a bad taste in their mouth and they decide that maybe this isn't a professional or an organized group that they want to be a part of. So that can be resolved by keeping your Be a Scout current, and it's something that we want to capture those Scouts while they're excited and the parents while they're willing. So keep the Be a Scout current. And then the same goes for your social media pages too. If you ever feel like you can't keep up something, if doing the Instagram page or some other social media channel is too much, then you should probably think about taking it down. It's and just not having it up if it's not something that you can do at that time. And then messages as well, and all of it. So timeliness matters. So these are some other examples that I thought were really cool. So Cub Scouts in Ashland are doing some cool things with their graphic design and how they're scouting from home. I love this Pack 18 video. This is a really fun one to go watch as well. So this is Leo, and he's opening his adventure box, and I watched this one with my son too, and it was just really exciting because the Scouts excited and the parents excited, and so my son wants to know if Lions get adventure boxes now. And then Heather, I think this is one of your videos with the how-to from the handbooks. Those are really cool. And that is all I've got.